So stop whatever you're doing right now. I'm dead serious. Because what I'm about to show you, what Caitlin Clark just did with some random fans in Oregon, this ain't normal, bro. This ain't how superstars move. And honestly, it's got the entire basketball world talking, and not just the WNBA community. We're talking everybody, from Nike executives to casual hoopers on Twitter to grown men who never watched a women's basketball game in their life. Everybody got an opinion on this one. And I'm about to break down why this moment, this one interaction, might be the most important thing Caitlin Clark has done off the court. Let's get it. What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. If you're new here, go ahead and smash that subscribe button because we cover everything Caitlin Clark, WNBA, and women's basketball. We don't miss nothing over here. And today we eating good, fam. Because the footage that dropped from Caitlin's Nike visit is absolutely insane. Now look, I've been covering Caitlin Clark for a minute now. Y'all know this. And I've seen her do a lot of incredible stuff on the court. The deep threes, the impossible passes, the way she just controls the game like she got the cheat codes. But bro, what she did with these fans at Nike headquarters, that's different. That hit different. And I'm going to tell you exactly why. So here's the setup. Caitlin Clark pulls up to Nike's campus in Oregon. Now, if you don't know, Nike headquarters is like Disneyland for athletes. It's where legends go. Michael Jordan walked those halls. LeBron got his own building out there. Kobe, Serena, the biggest names in sports history, have stood where Caitlin was standing. And now, she's getting that same treatment. Let that sink in for a second. But here's where it gets crazy. Instead of just doing the typical corporate stuff, photo ops, meetings, handshakes with executives, Caitlin decided to do something nobody expected. She grabbed a basketball, set up a mini hoop, and challenged random fans to a shooting contest. Winner gets an autograph. Loser? Well, they still get to say they shot hoops with Caitlin freaking Clark. Bro, the footage is everywhere right now. And when I tell you the internet is going absolutely crazy over this, I ain't exaggerating. We talking millions of views across multiple platforms. Comments flooding in. People sharing clips left and right. And the best part? It's all organic. This ain't some manufactured PR stunt. This is just Caitlin being Caitlin. Now let me paint the picture for you real quick. You got this young kid, couldn't have been older than like 12 or 13, standing there with mini basketball in his hands. He's nervous. You can see it in his face. Hands shaking a little bit. And across from him, one of the most famous athletes on the planet right now. No pressure, right? But here's what got me. Caitlin didn't rush him. She didn't make it awkward. She just smiled and said something like, "Take your time," and waited, patient, humble. Like she wasn't a global superstar standing in the middle of Nike headquarters with cameras everywhere. And when that kid took a shot, bro, the whole room held its breath. I'm not going to spoil it yet. We're going to react to all the clips together because there's like 6 or 7 of them floating around, and each one got its own wild moment. But what I will say is this. The way Caitlin handled herself throughout all of this shows exactly why she's built different. Why Nike is betting the house on her. Why her signature shoe is about to break the entire sneaker industry when it drops. Speaking of that shoe, we got to talk about it because there's some major updates coming out of this Nike visit. Stuff that people ain't really putting together yet. But I see it. And trust me, when I lay it all out for you, you're going to understand why this girl is about to be the biggest thing in sports. Not just women's sports. Sports, period. But first, let me ask y'all something real quick. Before we dive deeper into footage, before we break down what this means for Caitlin's brand and the WNBA negotiations and all that noise, I need to know, did y'all expect this from her? Like, did you think Caitlin Clark was going to pull up to Nike and start shooting around with regular people? Drop your thoughts in the comments because I'm genuinely curious. All right, now let's get into the first clip because this one right here, This one set the whole tone for the day. And wait till you see what happens. All right, we back. And look, before I even press play on this first clip, I gotta set the scene properly because context matters here. Y'all gotta understand what was happening behind the scenes at Nike that day. Because this wasn't just some random meet and greet. Nah, this was calculated. This was intentional. And when you see the bigger picture, you're gonna realize Caitlin Clark and her team are playing chess while everybody else playing checkers. So check it out. Nike flew Caitlin out to their headquarters. We're talking Beaverton, Oregon, the mothership. And they didn't just give her a tour. Bro, they rolled out the red carpet like she was royalty. And honestly, she kind of is at this point. We talking banners with her logo everywhere. Custom cookies with the CC branding on them. Coffee cups, tote bags, promotional material, all of it dripped out in Caitlin Clark everything. I ain't never seen Nike do this for anybody like this. And I've been watching Nike athletes for years. Now, some people online were saying, oh, they did this with LeBron too, or Jordan got the same treatment. And look, I ain't gonna sit here and disrespect the legends, but let me be real with y'all for a second. When Jordan was coming up, social media didn't exist. When LeBron signed with Nike, YouTube was barely a thing. The landscape is completely different now. And Caitlin Clark is positioned to capitalize on this moment in a way that nobody else in history could have. That's just facts. But here's what really got me thinking. While all this is going on, the promotional stuff, the photo ops, the branding showcase, Caitlin could have just smiled, waved, and called it a day. That's what most athletes would do. Get in, get out, collect a check, and keep it moving. But nah, not Caitlin. She saw fans standing around. Regular people who probably couldn't believe they were breathing the same air as her. And she made a decision that changed the entire vibe of the day. She grabbed that mini ball, walked over to the little hoop they had set up, and said, and I'm paraphrasing here because the audio on some of these clips ain't perfect. She basically said, who wants to shoot for an autograph? Bro, the energy in that room shifted immediately. You could feel it through the screen. People started pulling out their phones. Kids' eyes got wide. Adults who probably make six figures at Nike started acting like they was 12 years old again. And Caitlin? She just stood there grinning, waiting for somebody to step up. Now let's watch this first clip together, because this is where it gets real. This young girl looked like she was maybe 10 or 11. She steps up first, nervous as hell. You can see her mom in the background recording, probably thinking, please don't embarrass yourself on camera. And this little girl takes a shot from what looks like a pretty decent distance for that tiny hoop. We talking like 8, 9 feet maybe. Not easy, especially with all those eyes on you. And she bricks it. Not even close, bro. The ball goes flying off to the side. Crowd gets quiet for a second. You know that awkward silence when someone misses bad and nobody knows what to say? Yeah, that moment. But here's where Caitlin shows you exactly who she is as a person. Instead of just saying, nice try and moving on, which would have been fine, honestly, she walks over to this little girl, gives her a big smile, and signs her jersey anyway. Right there on the spot. Didn't hesitate. Didn't make her feel bad. Just pure class. And the mom? Bro, the mom was about to cry. You could see it. Because that moment right there wasn't about basketball. That was about making a kid feel special. That was about understanding that your platform is bigger than just wins and losses. And Caitlin Clark, at 23 years old, already gets that. Some athletes go their whole career and never figure that out. Now, the internet being the internet, some people in the comments was like, oh, she was supposed to sign it anyway. That's the whole point. And to those people I say, you're missing the point entirely. It ain't about what she was supposed to do. It's about how she did it. The warmth, the genuineness. The fact that she didn't make that little girl feel like a loser for missing. That's what matters. But hold up, that was just the first interaction. Because what happened next with this young man who stepped up to the challenge. That's when things got really interesting. And I ain't gonna lie to you, I had to re-watch this clip like 5 times because I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Okay, so boom. After that wholesome moment with the little girl, the energy in the room completely changed. People started getting hype. You could hear the chatter building up. Everybody wanted to turn now. And standing off to the side was this young man. Looked like he was maybe 15, 16 years old. And you could tell he was ready. Like, this kid had been waiting his whole life for a moment like this and didn't even know it until right then. Now, here's what made this different from the first attempt. This kid had confidence. You know how you can just look at somebody and tell they got that dog in them? That was this kid. No hesitation. No shaky hands. He stepped up to that line like he belonged there. Like he'd been shooting hoops with Caitlin Clark his whole life. And Caitlin noticed it too. You could see her expression change. She went from that supportive, encouraging vibe to something else. Almost like respect? Like she recognized a competitor when she saw one. And bro, that right there tells you everything you need to know about Caitlin's mentality. Even in a fun, casual moment like this, she's locked in. She's always competing, always evaluating. That's what separates the good from the great. So the kid takes his position. The room goes quiet. And I mean quiet, like pin drop silent. Everybody holding their breath. Phones recording from every angle. This random Tuesday at Nike headquarters suddenly felt like Game 7 of the finals. All because Caitlin Clark decided to have some fun with fans. The kid eyes the hoop, takes a breath, and lets it fly. Bro, splash. Nothing but net. Clean as you've ever seen it. The room erupted. I'm talking people screaming, clapping, losing their minds. This kid just drained a shot in front of one of the greatest shooters on the planet and won himself an autograph the hard way. You could see the pure joy on his face. That moment right there, that's gonna stay with him forever. That's the kind of memory you tell your kids about someday. And Caitlin, she was hyped too, like genuinely hyped. She wasn't faking it for the cameras. She was dapping the kid up, smiling ear to ear, probably thinking, okay, this kid got some game. And then she signed whatever he wanted. I think it was a basketball or a jersey. The footage wasn't super clear on that part, but it didn't matter what it was. That kid walked away feeling like $1 million. Now here's where my brain started going a different place. While I was watching all this unfold, I started thinking about the bigger picture. And I need y'all to really hear me on this because I think a lot of people are missing what's actually happening here. Caitlin Clark isn't just building a brand. She's building a legacy. And the foundation of that legacy isn't championships. Although those are going to come, trust me, the foundation is connection. It's moments like this. It's making everyday people feel like they matter. Because when you do that, when you make fans feel seen and appreciated, they ride for you forever. Through the ups and the downs, through the controversies and the haters, they stick with you because you stuck with them first. And Nike sees this. That's why they're going all in. That's why they got her logo plastered everywhere at headquarters. That's why her signature shoe, which we still got to talk about in detail, is being treated like the most important sneaker launch in years. Because they know what they got. They know Caitlin Clark isn't just a basketball player. She's a movement. But yo, speaking of that signature shoe, let me drop some information on y'all that I don't think a lot of people are putting together yet. Because there's been some whispers coming out of this Nike visit. Some hints about what's coming in spring 2026. And if what I'm hearing is accurate, the sneaker game is about to get flipped upside down. Now I can't confirm everything because Nike is tight-lipped about this stuff. They don't want leaks. They don't want a surprise ruined. But based on what we saw at headquarters, the promotion material, the branding choices, the overall aesthetic they're pushing with Caitlin's line, I think I got a pretty good idea of what direction they're going. And bro, it's genius. But before I break all that down, we got to talk about the next clip that dropped. Because Caitlin didn't just let the fans shoot. Nah, She decided to step up to the line herself. And what happened next? Let's just say not even Caitlin Clark is perfect. All right, so here's where it gets interesting. And honestly, this might be my favorite part of the whole thing, because it shows you a side of Caitlin Clark that people don't talk about enough. We always focus on her greatness, the highlights, the crazy shots she makes look easy. But what about when things don't go perfect? That's when you really see who somebody is. So after that kid drained his shot and got his autograph, the crowd started chanting for Caitlin to take a turn. You know how it goes. Caitlin, Caitlin, Caitlin. Everybody wanted to see the superstar do her thing. And look, this is a mini hoop, right? Tiny basketball. Weird distance. This ain't the same as shooting in a real gym. The dimensions are all off. The depth perception is different. It's actually harder than it looks, and I think people forget that sometimes. But Caitlin, being Caitlin, she wasn't about to back down from a challenge. Even a silly one like this. She grabbed that little mini ball, found her spot way behind what would be considered the three-point line for the setup, and got ready to let it fly. The crowd went absolutely silent again. Phones everywhere. Everybody expecting to witness something legendary. She took her shot. Beautiful form. Perfect release. The ball sailing through the air in slow motion. At least that's what it felt like watching the clip. And then, bro, she missed. Not even close, actually. The ball bounced off the rim and went sideways. And for a split second, just a split second, you could see the surprise on her face. Like, wait, that was supposed to go in. And the room got that awkward quiet again. You know that silence when everybody's trying to figure out how to react? Yeah, that. But here's the thing. And this is what separates Caitlin from so many other athletes. She didn't get embarrassed. She didn't make excuses. She didn't blame the ball or the hoop or the lighting or whatever. She just laughed. Like, genuinely laughed at herself. Threw her hands up like, well, that happened, and kept it moving. And the crowd loved it. They started laughing with her, not at her, because she made it okay to laugh. She showed them that even the greatest shooter in women's basketball history can miss sometimes. And that's perfectly fine. That's human. That's real. Now, some of y'all might be thinking, okay, that's cool, but why does this matter? And I'm glad you're asking, because this is where my sports commentator brain kicks in. See, what Caitlin did in that moment was actually genius from a branding perspective, whether she planned it or not. And I honestly think it was just her being authentic. She made herself relatable. Think about it. Every superstar athlete has this aura of perfection around them, like they can't fail, like they're not regular people. And while that's great for highlight reels, it creates a disconnect with fans. People can't relate to perfection, but they can relate to failure. They can relate to laughing at yourself when things don't go your way. And by showing that side of herself, Caitlin just made millions of fans feel like they know her, like she's one of them. And in today's world, where athletes are brands and brands are everything, that connection is worth more than any highlight clip. Trust me. But yo, Caitlin wasn't done. Because after that miss, she demanded a rematch. And what happened on her second attempt? Completely different story. But before we get there, I gotta pause and talk about something that's been on my mind this whole time. Something that's kind of lurking in the background of all this good news. The WNBA situation. Look, I know we all want to focus on the positive stuff. The Nike visit, the fan interactions, the signature shoe coming. But we gotta address the elephant in the room because it directly affects everything we're talking about. The WNBA is currently in a negotiation standstill. Players are fighting for better pay, better conditions, better everything. And as of right now, it's looking real uncertain whether there's even going to be a 2026 season. And that's scary, bro. Not just for the players, but for someone like Caitlin Clark specifically. Because think about it, her signature shoe is set to drop in spring 2026. Nike is investing millions into her brand. The whole marketing strategy is built around her performing on the court, dominating games, staying in the spotlight. But if there's no season, if the negotiations fall through and the WNBA goes dark, that's a problem, a big problem. And I don't think people are talking about this enough. Because as legendary as this Nike visit was, as amazing as these fan interactions have been, Caitlin Clark needs to be playing basketball for all of this to reach its full potential. She needs games. She needs highlights. She needs those "did you see what she just did?" moments that break the internet. Without a season, Nike's investment becomes a gamble. And Caitlin's momentum, all this momentum she's been building, could slow down. I'm not saying it would disappear completely. She's too big for that now. But it would definitely be a setback. So what's the play here? What's Caitlin and her team doing to prepare for this uncertainty? Well, based on what I'm seeing, they're being incredibly smart about it. And I'm about to break down exactly what I mean. Okay, so let's talk strategy for a minute. Because what I've been noticing about Caitlin Clark's moves lately, especially since the start of this year, is that everything feels intentional. Nothing is random. And when you start connecting the dots, you realize her team is playing this game at a level most people don't even understand. Think about what's happened in just the last few weeks. She did that interview with the Kelsey brothers on their podcast. Massive exposure, millions of views, reached a whole audience that might not normally tune into women's basketball. Then she shows up at Nike headquarters, creates all this viral content, gets everybody talking. And in between, she's been popping up at events, staying visible, keeping her name in the headlines. Now ask yourself, why? Why is Caitlin Clark suddenly everywhere when technically it's the off-season, when there's no games being played, when the WNBA is in the middle of this messy negotiation situation? The answer is simple. Bro, she's building leverage. She's creating value that exists independent of the league. And that's absolutely brilliant. See, most players, even the great ones, are tied to their team and their league. Their value goes up when they're playing and drops when they're not. That's just how it works. But what Caitlin is doing is different. She's making herself bigger than the WNBA itself. She's becoming a brand that transcends basketball. And if, God forbid, the 2026 season doesn't happen, she's still going to be relevant. She's still going to be making moves. She's still going to be Caitlin Clark. And Nike knows this. That's why they're investing so heavily in her right now, despite all the uncertainty. Because they're not just betting on a basketball player. They're betting on a cultural icon. Someone who can sell shoes whether she's on the court or not. Someone who can drive engagement just by showing up to their headquarters and shooting around with fans. But here's what really got me thinking. And I want y'all to pay attention to this because it's important. There's been rumors, and I stress rumors because nothing is confirmed yet, that Caitlin might have a new agent, or at least someone new handling a bigger portion of her business. And if that's true, it would explain a lot, because the moves she's making now feel different from before. More calculated, more aggressive, like there's a master plan being executed step by step, and whoever is behind that plan, they know exactly what they're doing. Now, I don't want to speculate too much on the specifics because I don't got concrete information. But what I can say is this. The Caitlin Clark we're seeing in 2025 is not the same Caitlin Clark from 2 years ago. She's evolved, not just as a player, but as a businesswoman, as a brand, as someone who understands her power and isn't afraid to use it. And speaking of power, let's get back to that Nike visit, because there's one clip we haven't talked about yet. The second shot, Caitlin's redemption moment. Because after she missed that first attempt and laughed it off, she wasn't about to let that be the end of the story. So she grabs the ball again. The crowd is cheering her on. Somebody yells something like, "You got this, Caitlin." And she takes her position. Same spot as before, way behind the line. Maximum difficulty. But this time, something was different. You could see it in her eyes. That competitive fire that makes her who she is. The same look she gets before draining a 30-footer in a packed arena. She wasn't playing around anymore. This was personal now. She squared up, took a breath, and released. Bro, nothing. But, net, the crowd went absolutely insane. Like, losing their minds insane. And Caitlin? She just smiled and gave a little nod. Like, yeah, that's what I do. No celebration. No flexing. Just quiet confidence. Because she knows she's that girl. She don't gotta prove it to nobody. And watching that moment, I couldn't help but think about what it represents on a bigger level. Because that's Caitlin Clark's whole career, right? She faces a challenge. Maybe stumbles at first. But then she comes back and delivers. Every single time. Whether it's proving doubters wrong in college, or silencing critics in the WNBA, or hitting a redemption shot at Nike headquarters. The pattern is always the same. She rises to the occasion. But yo, we still haven't talked about the most important thing from this entire visit. The jacket. The CC logo merchandise. The signature shoe hints. Because what Nike revealed during this trip, even if they didn't mean to reveal it, tells us so much about what's coming. And honestly, I think Caitlin Clark might be about to break some records that people thought were untouchable. I'm talking Michael Jordan level numbers. And I don't say that lightly. All right, let's get into this because I've been waiting to talk about this part since we started. The merchandise, the branding, the hints about what's coming. Because if you were paying close attention to the footage from Nike headquarters, and I mean really paying attention, you caught some things that most people gloss right over. First, let's talk about that jacket Caitlin was wearing. Bro, that jacket was absolutely fire. I ain't even gonna pretend like I wasn't immediately trying to figure out where to buy it. It was this clean Nike piece with her CC logo integrated into the design. Not loud, not over the top, just subtle and premium. Like something you'd see at a high-end fashion show, not a sports apparel launch. And here's the thing, that jacket ain't out yet. It's not available anywhere. I checked multiple times, which means what we saw was either a prototype or an exclusive piece that's going to drop alongside her signature shoe in 2026. And if the rest of her line looks anything like that jacket, Nike is about to make an absolute fortune. But it wasn't just a jacket. Did y'all peep the tote bags they were giving out? The promotional material scattered around the building? Everything had this consistent aesthetic. Clean lines, minimalist design, the CC logo front and center, but never obnoxious. It felt less like sports merchandise and more like luxury fashion. Like Gucci or Louis Vuitton decided to collaborate with Nike on a basketball collection. And that's intentional, bro. That's a strategic choice. Because think about who Caitlin Clark appeals to. Yeah, she's got the hardcore basketball fans locked up, but she's also attracting people who don't normally watch sports. Women who want to support other women. Fashion-conscious consumers who care about what they wear. Young girls who see themselves in her. The market for Caitlin Clark merchandise is way bigger than just hoopers. And Nike knows it. That's why they're positioning her stuff as premium. That's why the aesthetic feels elevated. They're not trying to compete with regular basketball gear. They're trying to create a whole new category. And if they pull it off, the sales numbers are going to be insane. Now, let me talk about that logo for a second. The CC logo. Because I think it's low-key one of the best athlete logos ever created. And I don't say that to be hyperbolic. I genuinely believe it. Look at most athlete logos. They're either too complicated or too boring. They try to incorporate basketballs or swooshes or initials in ways that feel forced. But the CC logo? It's elegant. It's simple. Two C's intertwined in a way that looks almost like a fashion house emblem. Some people say it reminds them of Chanel. Others say Gucci. And honestly, both comparisons work. Because that's the vibe they're going for. It's a unisex logo too. That's important. It doesn't scream women's basketball in a way that might limit its appeal. A guy could rock a CC hoodie and feel fresh. A girl could wear the same hoodie and feel empowered. That cross-demographic appeal is rare. Most athlete brands are gendered in ways that restrict their market. Caitlyn's brand isn't, and that's going to translate directly to sales. Speaking of sales, let me drop something on y'all that's been floating around in my head. And look, this might sound crazy at first, but hear me out, because I genuinely believe Caitlin Clark has a potential to outsell Michael Jordan in sneakers. Now, before y'all come for me in the comments, let me explain. I'm not saying she's a better basketball player than Jordan. Nobody's saying that. And I'm not disrespecting the GOAT. Jordan changed the game forever. His impact on basketball and sneaker culture is unmatched. But here's the thing. The market has changed. The world has changed. And the opportunity that exists today is different from what existed in the 80s and 90s. When Jordan was selling sneakers, the market was primarily male. Women's sports wasn't taken seriously. Female consumers weren't considered a priority. But now, women control a massive portion of consumer spending. The appetite for women's sports is at an all-time high. And there's a whole generation of young girls who grew up watching Caitlin Clark dominate at Iowa and are now ready to buy everything with her name on it. That's a market that didn't exist for Jordan. It barely existed for LeBron, but it exists for Caitlin. And if she keeps performing on the court, if the WNBA gets their situation figured out, and she has a monster 2026 season, bro, the sales could genuinely challenge records that seemed untouchable. But that's a big if. And we got to talk about the obstacles standing in her way. Because not everything is perfect in Caitlin Clark world. There's some challenges coming that she's going to have to navigate carefully. And how she handles them could determine whether she reaches her full potential or falls short. All right, let's keep it real for a minute, because I've been hyping up Caitlin Clark this whole video, and she deserves the hype, don't get me wrong, but we gotta address some of the challenges she's facing, because the road ahead ain't all smooth. There's obstacles, there's haters, there's situations outside her control that could seriously impact her trajectory. And if we're gonna have an honest conversation about her future, we gotta talk about all of it. First and foremost, the WNBA negotiations. I touched on this earlier, but let me go deeper because this is serious. Bro, the players in the league are currently at a standstill. They're fighting over money, obviously, but it's also about respect, about the players getting what they deserve after years of being undervalued. And look, I support the players 100%. They should be paid fairly. They should have better travel conditions. They should be treated like the professional athletes they are. But here's the reality. If these negotiations drag on too long, if the two sides can't come to an agreement, there might not be a 2026 season. And that would be devastating for everyone, but especially for Caitlin Clark. Think about the timing. Her signature shoe drops in spring 2026. Nike has built their entire marketing strategy around her playing basketball, generating highlights, staying in the news cycle for on-court reasons. If there's no season, all of that falls apart. Sure, she could do Nike visits and podcast interviews and fan events, but nothing replaces actual games. Nothing replaces those moments where she drains a logo three and the crowd loses their mind. That's what sells sneakers. That's what builds legends. And Caitlin knows this. Her team knows this. That's why they've been so aggressive about staying visible during the off-season. They're preparing for the worst while hoping for the best, building as much momentum as possible so that even if the season gets delayed or canceled, she's still in a strong position. But it's a risk, bro, a real risk. And I don't think casual fans understand how precarious this situation is. Now, beyond the league stuff, there's another challenge Caitlin has to deal with, and this one's more personal. The haters. Look, I ain't gonna sit here and pretend like Caitlin Clark is universally loved. She's not. And if you've been online at all in the last 2 years, you know exactly what I'm talking about. There's a segment of people, and I'm not gonna name names or get too specific, who seem determined to tear her down, no matter what she does. No matter how well she plays, no matter how gracious she is with fans, or how humble she comes across in interviews, they find something to criticize. Some of it is jealousy, pure and simple. When you're at the top, people want to knock you down. That's just human nature. Some of it is rooted in other stuff that I'm not going to get into because this ain't that kind of video, but it exists, and Caitlyn has to navigate it constantly. What impresses me, though, is how she handles it. Because if you watch her interviews, if you pay attention to how she moves, she never takes the bait. She never claps back at critics. She never gives them the satisfaction of knowing they got under her skin. She just keeps working, keeps winning, keeps being herself. And that's the best revenge, honestly. Success. Sustained, undeniable success. That's how you silence the haters. Not by arguing with them on Twitter. Not by addressing every negative comment, but by being so good, so consistent, so excellent that the criticism starts to look foolish. But I'd be lying if I said it doesn't take a toll, because it does. Even for someone as mentally strong as Caitlyn, constantly being under a microscope, having every word analyzed, every action scrutinized, that's exhausting. And it's something most of us will never fully understand because we've never experienced it at that level. Now, here's where I want to pivot. Because despite all these challenges, the league uncertainty, the haters, the pressure, there's something about this Nike visit that gives me hope. Something that tells me Caitlyn is going to be just fine no matter what happens. It's the way she interacted with those fans. See, when you watch the footage closely, you notice something. Caitlyn wasn't performing for the cameras. She wasn't doing some calculated PR move. She was genuinely enjoying herself, laughing, smiling, having fun. Despite everything she's dealing with behind the scenes, she found joy in that moment. And that tells me her head is in the right place. Because athletes who get consumed by the pressure, they burn out, they crack, they lose what made them special in the first place. But athletes who can find joy in the simple stuff, who can connect with fans and appreciate the journey, those are the ones who last. Those are the ones who build legacies that stand the test of time. And speaking of legacies, we got to talk about what Caitlyn is doing for women's basketball as a whole, because her impact extends way beyond her own career. So this is a part of the video where I need y'all to really lock in. Because what I'm about to say is bigger than Caitlyn Clark. It's bigger than Nike. It's bigger than any individual moment or highlight or sneaker deal. We're talking about the future of women's basketball, the future of women's sports entirely. And Caitlyn Clark is at the center of it all. Let me paint a picture for you real quick. 5 years ago, just 5 years, the WNBA was struggling for attention. Games were barely televised. Attendance was low. The average person on the street couldn't name more than maybe 1 or 2 players. And the narrative around women's basketball was always negative. Nobody watches. They can't dunk. It's boring. You've heard all the disrespectful stuff people used to say. Some people still say it now, but way less than before. And why is that? Why has the conversation shifted so dramatically in such a short time? One word, bro, Caitlyn. Now look, I ain't gonna sit here and say Caitlyn Clark single-handedly saved women's basketball. That would be disrespectful to all the legends who came before her. Diana Taurasi, Sue Bird, Maya Moore, Candace Parker, Breanna Stewart. These women paved the way. They fought battles so that someone like Caitlyn could have the platform she has today. And they deserve their flowers too. But what Caitlyn did was different. She captured mainstream attention in a way nobody else had. She made women's basketball must-see TV. When she was at Iowa, those games were pulling ratings that rivaled men's college basketball. The Final 4 games she played in broke records. Actual, legitimate records. And when she got drafted into the WNBA, it wasn't just sports fans paying attention. It was everybody. Your mom knew who Caitlyn Clark was. Your little sister. Your co-worker who's never watched a basketball game in their life. She transcended the sport, became a cultural phenomenon, and in doing so, she lifted the entire league with her. Think about what's happened since she entered the WNBA. Attendance is up across the board, not just for Indiana Fever games, although those are obviously through the roof, but for every team. TV ratings have increased. Sponsorship deals have gotten bigger. More companies are investing in women's basketball because they see the potential now. They see that the audience is there if you give them something worth watching. And that's what Caitlin represents. Proof of concept. Evidence that women's basketball can be just as exciting, just as compelling, just as profitable as men's basketball. She's not just a player. She's an ambassador, a trailblazer, someone who's opening doors that future generations will walk through. Now, here's what really gets me emotional about all this. And y'all know I don't get emotional often on this channel. But when I think about the little girls who are watching Caitlin Clark right now, the ones who are going to grow up with her as their idol, bro, that hits different. Because when I was growing up, the options were limited. If you were a young girl who loved basketball, who did you have to look up to? There were great players, sure, but they weren't in the spotlight the way male athletes were. They weren't getting Nike deals and magazine covers and viral moments every week. The visibility just wasn't there. But now there's Caitlin Clark making logo threes on primetime television. There's Caitlin Clark on billboards and commercials and podcast interviews. There's Caitlin Clark shooting hoops with fans at Nike headquarters and treating everyone with kindness and grace. Young girls can see themselves in her. They can dream bigger because of her. And that's something you can't put a price on. That's why this Nike visit matters so much. It's not just about sneakers and merchandise and brand deals. It's about what it represents. It's about Nike, one of the biggest companies in the world, saying, we believe in women's basketball. We believe in this player, and we're going to invest accordingly. Every time Caitlin's logo appears on a building, every time her signature shoe gets promoted, every time she gets the superstar treatment, it sends a message to young athletes, to sponsors, to the entire sports industry. Women's basketball is here to stay, and it's only going to get bigger. But we still got a couple more things to cover, because there's one more clip from the Nike visit that we haven't talked about yet. And honestly, it might be the most important one, because it shows a side of Caitlin that even her biggest fans might not have seen before. And it has to do with something she said during her speech. Okay, so check this out. During the Nike visit, Caitlin apparently gave a short speech to the people gathered there. Now, the full footage hasn't been released yet. We've only seen little snippets here and there. But from what I've been able to piece together from various clips and eyewitness accounts, what she said was incredibly powerful. And it reveals a lot about who she is as a person when the cameras ain't rolling. From what I understand, Caitlin talked about gratitude, about how surreal it felt to be standing in the same place where her heroes once stood. She mentioned Michael Jordan. She mentioned the legacy of Nike athletes who came before her. And she talked about not taking any of this for granted. Now, that might sound like standard athlete speech stuff. I'm grateful I work hard, blah, blah, blah. We've heard it a million times, right? But here's what made it different. The people who were there, the Nike employees, the fans, everyone in that room, they said you could tell she meant it. Like, genuinely meant every word. This wasn't rehearsed PR talk. This was Caitlin Clark being vulnerable and honest in a room full of strangers. And apparently, she got a little emotional at one point. Not full-on crying or anything like that, but her voice got shaky. Her eyes got watery, because she was talking about her journey, where she started, what she's overcome, and where she is now. Bro, when I heard about that, it hit me different, because we see Caitlin Clark, the superstar all the time. The confident shooter, the player who talks trash and backs it up, the girl who seems unshakable no matter what's thrown at her. But underneath all of that, she's still human. She still feels the weight of expectations. She still has moments where she can't believe this is her life. And that's beautiful, man. That's what makes her relatable. That's what makes people connect with her on a deeper level. Because she's not pretending to be perfect. She's not acting like she's got it all figured out. She's just a 23-year-old woman navigating unprecedented success while trying to stay true to who she is. There was also something she said about responsibility, about understanding that her platform comes with obligations. She talked about wanting to use her visibility to lift others up, to create opportunities for the next generation, to be someone that young girls can look at and say, if she can do it, so can I. And that right there, bro, that's leadership. That's maturity beyond her years. Because a lot of athletes her age are focused solely on themselves, their stats, their money, their fame, and there's nothing wrong with that. Securing the bag is important, but Caitlin seems to understand that she's part of something bigger, that her success isn't just about her. Now, here's what I find fascinating about all of this. Caitlin has never positioned herself as an activist or a spokesperson for causes. She doesn't get political. She doesn't lecture people. She just does the work, quietly, consistently. She lets her actions speak louder than any statement ever could. And in today's world, where everybody's got an opinion and everybody's trying to be the loudest voice in the room, that approach is refreshing. She's not trying to be a symbol. She's just being herself. And somehow, that's more powerful than any calculated PR campaign could ever be. But yo, let me bring this back to the Nike visit for a second, because there's one more piece of footage that dropped late, like really late, after most of the initial clips had already gone viral. And when I saw it, I had to rewatch it multiple times because I couldn't believe what I was seeing. It was a clip of Caitlin interacting with a young girl, maybe 7 or 8 years old. And this little girl was wearing a Caitlin Clark jersey, had her hair in a ponytail, just like Caitlin, was literally trying to copy everything about her hero. And when she got to meet Caitlin in person, bro, the look on that little girl's face. I'm not exaggerating when I say it almost made me tear up, because you could see in that child's eyes what Caitlin Clark represents. Hope, inspiration, the belief that anything is possible. And Caitlin didn't rush the moment. She knelt down to the girl's level, talked to her for a while, took pictures, signed her jersey, made that little girl feel like the most important person in the world. And that's when it really crystallized for me. That's when I fully understood what we're witnessing. This isn't just about basketball. This isn't just about sneakers or Nike deals or championship trophies. This is about impact. Real, tangible, life-changing impact. And Caitlin Clark is delivering it every single day, whether she realizes it or not. So as we wrap this thing up, I gotta ask y'all something. And I want real answers in the comments. All right, y'all, we at the end here. And before I close this out, I need to ask you something real. And I want you to think about this before you drop your answer in the comments. What does Caitlin Clark mean to you? Like, seriously, strip away the stats. Strip away the highlights and the Nike deals and the viral moments. When you think about Caitlin Clark as a person, as an athlete, as a cultural figure, what does she represent? Because I think the answer to that question is different for everybody. And that's what makes her impact so powerful. For some of y'all, she's proof that women's basketball deserves respect. That women athletes can sell tickets and merchandise and capture mainstream attention just like men. For others, she's a reminder that hard work pays off, that staying humble and authentic can take you further than any fake persona ever could. And for young girls watching, she's everything. She's possibility. She's the future. And watching this Nike visit unfold over the past few days, seeing all these clips drop, watching the internet react, it reminded me why I started this channel in the first place. To cover moments that matter. To talk about athletes who are changing the game in more ways than one. And Caitlin Clark is absolutely doing that. These fan interactions we talked about today, the shooting contests, the autographs, the genuine smiles and laughter, That's going to be what people remember when they look back on her career. Yeah, they'll remember the championships. When she gets them, they'll remember the crazy shots and the records broken. But they'll also remember how she made them feel, how she took time to connect, how she never forgot where she came from or the people who supported her along the way. And that Nike visit was just the latest example of that. She could have treated it like a business obligation. Show up, smile for the cameras, sign a few things, get out. But she didn't. She turned it into an experience, into moments that those fans will carry with them forever. And in the process, she created content that went so viral that we're here talking about it days later. That's the Caitlin Clark effect, bro. Everything she touches turns to gold. Not because she's trying to manufacture viral moments, but because she's genuinely being herself. And people can feel that authenticity. They're starving for it, actually. In a world full of filtered, curated, fake personas, Caitlin Clark is refreshingly real. Now, as far as what's next, we don't know for sure. The WNBA negotiations are still ongoing. No updates as of the recording of this video. The signature shoe is still set to drop in spring 2026, but we don't have an exact date yet. And Caitlin's schedule for the next few months is probably packed with stuff we don't even know about. But what I do know is this. Whatever Caitlin Clark does next, we're going to be watching. Whether it's another Nike event or a podcast appearance, or, God willing, games in the 2026 WNBA season, she's got our attention. And more importantly, she's earned our respect. So to wrap this all up, let me say this. If you've been sleeping on Caitlin Clark, wake up. If you've been doubting women's basketball, it's time to reconsider. And if you've been one of those fans who's been riding with her from day one, keep doing what you're doing. Keep supporting. Keep showing up. Keep proving that there's a massive audience for this. Because moments like this Nike visit don't happen in a vacuum. They happen because fans demand them. Because people care enough to watch the footage, share the clips, engage with the content. Y'all are part of the story too. Never forget that. All right, I need y'all to do me a favor before you click off this video. Drop a comment down below. Tell me your favorite moment from the Nike visit. Tell me what you're most excited to see from Caitlin in 2026. Tell me if you're copying that signature shoe when it drops, because you know I am. Let's get that comment section active. And if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button. We covering Caitlin Clark, WNBA news, women's basketball highlights, all of it. We don't miss. And we doing it with the energy and respect the sport deserves. To everybody who's been here from the beginning, thank you. Seriously, y'all make this possible. Y'all make this worth it. As for Caitlin Clark, keep being you. Keep inspiring. Keep showing the world what's possible when talent meets humility, meets relentless work ethic. We all watching. We all rooting for you. And we can't wait to see what happens next. This your boy, signing off. Until next time, keep them positivity vibes high, shake the haters off, and remember, we witnessing history in real time. Don't take it for granted. I'm out. Peace.